from scratch.
Shake it like the snow globe.
Not too hard.
Oh my God.
Okay, we are live and ready to go.
All right, let me call this meeting of Milburn School District 24 Board of Education regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Mr. Coleman,
Here.
Mr. Gray,
Here.
Mr. Gouzier,
Here.
Mrs. I,
Here.
Mr. Murphy,
Here.
Mr. Pederini,
Here.
Mr. Quinones,
Here.
So we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Denise, do we have any public comments?
Nope.
All right. Does anybody have any addition of non-action items? Okay. On to the action items. Final reading and approval of board policies 420, 460, and 895.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the board policies as presented.
Second.
All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Hearing none, let's call a vote.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Gouzier,
Yes.
Mrs. I,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Pederini,
Yes.
Mr. Quinones,
Yes.
the motion passed.
You guys have it. Moving on to approval of the 2020-2021 summer school dates.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2020-2021 summer school dates.
Second.
Do we have questions or comments on this?
Summer school dates are June 7th through the 24th, Monday through Thursday, approximately 3 hours. The elementary is 8:30 to 11:30, middle school is 9 to noon, so to get real specific. And then again, I believe it's July 28th, Monday, July 28th, or it could be Monday, July 26th, whatever that Monday is, through August 5th would be the second session. So 3-week session and then another 2-week session at the same time.
Okay.
We just wanted board approval to say, hey, this is something that's okay to do. We're funding this through a grant through stimulus money, so.
And Title I.
And Title I, that's also a grant.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote.
Mr. Quinones,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes.
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Gouzier,
Yes.
Mrs. I,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Pederini,
Yes.
the motion passed.
Ayes have it. Moving on to approval of the Consolidated District Plan Amendment that adopts the school-wide model for the Milburn Title I program.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Consolidated District Plan Amendment that adopts the school-wide model for the Milburn Title I program.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any questions on this?
So what this is doing is, when we do our consolidated district plan, which is Title I, Title II, Title IV, grants that you're gonna be approving money for next. The board just has to approve that we're doing a school-wide versus a targeted Title I grant. So we're doing things that broadly impact the school versus targeting a specific program. And in our case, or targeting a specific school. So if we were a district with multiple schools, the board, this is when it becomes probably a bigger issue. The board would have to choose which school is gonna get the money or the most money. And so being that we're targeting both of our schools and we're basically one grade level schools, it doesn't really matter, but we have to have that on the grant in order to get it approved, in order to get the money. So that's what you're doing, is checking a box.
Good. All right, hearing no comments, bring it to a vote.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
yes,
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mrs. I?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
The motion passed.
The ayes have it, and we'll move on to approval of Title I grant in the amount of $57,583.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Title I grant in the amount of $57,583.
Second?
We have questions on this explanation.
Nope, this is Title I money that we get from the federal government that's available to us, and we are taking it this year. We have not always taken it in the past, but the grant has grown to a significant amount that we can take it. And you have to take Title I in order to get the other stimulus money. So this is, really, you're approving 57,000, which is not, I mean, it's significant, but it's not make or break a school district, but it's ending up being about $450,000 gain for the district this year, so.
So just out of curiosity, why were there years where we didn't take the grant?
Because of, you'd have to hire somebody, it's a lot of work, so it's administrative load, and that's 2 years. And in the past, it would be maybe 15,000 per year that you would get the grant, and it would cost you more in labor to get that money than the benefit to take it, because there's a lot of strings attached to that, and it impacts everything. The reporting out that we have to do, it impacts all of our reporting, so.
Okay.
It is significant enough to take now to make it worth our time and effort, so, good question.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
yes,
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mrs. I?
Yes.
The motion passed.
The ayes have it, and moving on to approval for the purchase of network data drops in the amount of $45,004.
I'd like to make an motion to approve the purchase of network data drops in the amount of $45,004.
Second.
So I'll ask a dumb question, what's a data drop?
Where you plug a computer or phone into the wall. And this building by far had the most where we needed to do something. Actually, the tech director and I went into every room and determined whether we needed to add one. I think there's 87 here and 2 at the middle school. But this is kind of the first step toward not only providing additional data drops in the classroom, but also when we move to that next phase of phones, we'll be plugging them into a data drop as opposed to a plain old telephone line plug.
Okay.
How many data drops?
89 total. 87 here and I think 2 at the middle school. After the E-rate reimbursement, the cost will be about $27,000.
Are they solely for like charging, or do they sync up with like the other?
No,
tabs?
basically they're connecting to the network because we'll be using voice over IP for the phones.
Okay.
So they have to be connected to our network in order to do that.
Oh, yeah,
And then
yeah.
there's a pass-through on the back of the phone that if they want to plug a computer or something into, they can do that as well. Because technically we can't use these federal dollars only for phones. We have to use it for data, so.
So what are they gonna pull? Cat 5, Cat 6?
Cat 6. I believe, I know it's Cat
I
6.
think it's Cat
I don't know if
6E,
it's
yeah.
Cat 6E or plus or whatever, but I know we did discuss that before we sent it out, what technology-wise we needed.
Okay, they didn't recommend Cat 7?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
Is that something that changes, you sound like you know what you're talking about.
Well, a little bit, not a lot, but,
Does that change
I'm-
rapidly?
well, I'm running Cat 7 in the house as soon as so, I mean, if I'm running it in my house, it's probably forward-looking 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, if,
For the purposes that we're gonna use it for, it's more than adequate.
Okay.
yeah, we just,
And mostly in the building, we use the wireless network instead of plugging directly into the wall,
Right,
so.
okay.
yeah, Cat 6E is still commonly used.
Any more questions? Hearing none, I'll bring it up for a roll call, please.
Mrs. I,
Yes.
Mr. Murphy,
Yes.
Mr. Pederini,
Yes.
Mr. Quinones,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman,
Yes?
Mr. Gray,
Yes.
Mr. Buziak,
Yes,
the motion passed.
Thank you. The ayes have it. Moving on to approval for the purchase of student desks, and this was not to exceed 75,000?
70,000.
70,000.
Wait, I have to look back at the email, whatever I put in the email, I think it was 70.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of student desks not to exceed $70,000.
Second?
We have questions on this?
So the reason we're purchasing student desks is anticipating in the fall that we're going to be providing lunch for students, because we'll have students over the lunch period. And we have to have them sit somewhere. We can't get enough kids in the cafeteria now with the current recommendations or guidelines from the CDC and the state and the local government. So what we have to do is get kids 6 feet apart when they're eating because they won't have their masks off. That's the current policy. So in order to do that, we're gonna have to set up individual student desks so they're not sitting in a bench like they used to sit shoulder to shoulder. Hopefully we'll get back to that someday, but in the fall we're anticipating not needing that. And we're gonna be expanding into the gyms to set up for lunches so that we can get enough kids in and not have to spend our whole day doing lunches. So that's been a big hurdle this year of why we couldn't move to a full day this year. And so we're anticipating next year what our needs are, and that's one of our needs. So we're taking this opportunity to buy new desks because our newest desks are
20 years old
15
here
to
and
20.
about 14 or 15 at the middle school.
Yeah, 14 or 15-year-old are our newest desks, so it's time to recycle some of them out anyway, so we can use the grant money to buy new desks for the classroom, take the old desks and put them into the lunchroom and use those for lunches for next year. And then we'll have a good supply of desks for a long period of time going forward. So trying to think ahead of what's going to be fiscally responsible, how do you spend your money wisely, and anticipating needs down the road and what works with the stimulus money. That's why we're buying desks.
What's the going rate for a desk?
There's a huge range depending on what style you get, whether you want wheels on it or no wheels, and we don't want wheels on them. The teachers don't want wheels. I want wheels on them. The teachers don't want wheels
I
on
want
them
wheels
because
too, but
I don't want the kids doing this all day.
Yeah.
So, there's that, there's tons of surfaces. This is a laminate surface with an edge on it. You can get a solid surface, which is what we're looking at, because the laminate, the kids pick on it and pick those edges off, and then it comes up, and so on and so forth. So there's huge range, I don't know, Steve would know what the range is more directly.
Roughly, you're probably talking, for what we're looking at, between $150 and $200 for either, the middle school's looking at a combination desk that would be the seat and the desk connected together. The elementary's looking at a separate chair and a desk. And actually, as you leave tonight, as you go through before you get to the foyer, on the left-hand side by the picture of the school, there's a couple samples there.
Oh,
You can see what the tops look like and what the chairs are like. And even though the chairs won't have wheels, they do have the ability that the kids can kind of lean back a little. They have some flexibility, as well as some built-in lumbar support as well.
Great.
And there's a whole variety of colors, so I'm not quite sure where they're gonna end up on colors, but
So some of these desks will be one-piece desks.
at the middle school.
Will any of the desks accommodate left-handed kids?
Ah, good question. God, I never had a lefty desk. I was always so bummed.
When I actually,
Elbow hanging off, yeah.
yeah, the desks actually have rectangular surfaces, so there really isn't a righty or a lefty. It's not like the kind that has like where the arm is.
And the one that we're looking at, in addition to that, you look on the bottom and the tray, it goes across the whole bottom versus some of them now have the right-handed, so it gives you more room on your right-handed. This one would be neutral because it goes across the whole piece, so it's a good question.
Okay.
And those come in 3 sizes. I think we're looking probably at the middle size, but I'm not positive that was the last I heard, although, you know, that kind of changes from day to day.
Yeah.
So they'll have to make that decision probably this week.
Can you write on these? Are they like
On
dry
the
erase?
hard plastic surface, which is what we're planning to get, yes.
Okay.
And there actually is one out there that, you know, with a dry erase marker, there is an example where Carly took and wrote on there so you could see that you can do that, and then it just wipes off.
I thought you said a couple of weeks ago that they were kind of modular, so kind of replacing tables, or more flexible than just tables?
That was my idea, but no.
No, okay.
Now, there is one of the modular ones out there, but, and I think it was an issue of how they fit together, that you can fit up to 5 of them together, and they can't all look and see, like one of them had their back to the front of the room, and that's why they wanted to go with more of the rectangle rather than the modular. But they can still fit together.
Right, that's why you ask a teacher what they want, because they'll understand what's gonna work for them in the classroom and not what looks cool in a magazine. So.
It's an Instagram world.
Right.
Okay. Do we have any more questions, comments? Hearing none, let's go for a roll call, please.
Mr. Buziak?
Yes.
Mrs. I?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
The motion passed.
Moving on to the, approve the memorandum of understanding for the summer school compensation.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for summer school compensation.
We have questions on this one?
You need a second. Second?
Oh, we didn't get a second.
Second.
Thank you. All right. Now, do we have questions?
So this gives, I sent it out last Friday, and if you have questions about it, we can go into closed session before approving it, but if you're okay, that's fine. It's for the compensation for teachers and the director of summer school. You're approving that, and we've talked about that for a while, so. It's just putting it on paper and making it official.
Comments? Questions?
We have the money, right?
Yep.
There you go. Okay.
All right, roll call, please, Brian.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Guziak?
Yes.
Mrs. I?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
The motion passed.
Mr. Guziak had a good point on that. That is paid for by stimulus money. ESSER 2 or 3, depending on where we land.
Entitled.
And title.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes from the special meeting minutes from March 8th, 2021, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes, March 8th, 2021, regular Board of Education meeting minutes, March 29th, 2021, and the personnel report, which includes the resignation of Leah Burnett, speech language pathologist, and the retirement of Pam Stefanowski, MES special education paraprofessional, the treasurer's report, the bill approval and payment authorization, and the activity account.
Second.
Questions on this?
Will the speech language pathologist position be backfilled?
We don't know.
Is there a need?
If there is a need, it will be, yes. But we're
So right now,
evaluating.
there's not necessarily a pressing need.
It's not an automatic. We always, anytime there's a resignation, we determine whether we need to replace that position. So if the caseloads require it, we will replace that. Caseload, workload, Adam, Mr. Rowlands is working on that with the speech team and with the other administrators now in their meeting this week, so.
Thanks.
Yep.
Any more questions? Roll call, please, Brian.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Guziak?
Yes.
Mrs. I?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Federini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
The motion passed.
Information and discussion, remote learning.
Our, just as a heads up and continuation of our plans, we are discussing spending a lot more time discussing next year now than this year, and have been for the last couple of months, and what that plan is gonna look like, thus the purchase of desks. So what we're discussing as an administrative team is, okay, so what is it gonna look like? And we're just guessing on what it's gonna look like because we haven't gotten the latest plans from the Illinois Department of Public Health and ISB yet on guidance on what next year's gonna look like. It should come out any week now. We can't wait for that, but we have an inkling of what it might be, and that's 3 feet of spacing with kids in classrooms, that we continue wearing mask requirement. And so we said, okay, with these parameters that think we're gonna be given, what will our schedule look like, or what will be the barriers to getting kids into a full day program? So we are looking for kids to be in a full day program with all of the activities and support that they had last year. So that's what we're shooting for, and then we're just trying to knock down those barriers as we get through them, and then we will communicate that out to parents. What we don't know about is, will we be required to offer remote learning to students? We are thinking that we probably will be at some point for students that may have medical conditions or a medical situation that would require them to be remote. So we're looking at options for that, but that's going to be the most difficult hurdle to overcome, I believe, for next year. So trying to weigh all of this, and we're going to be sending out information probably this week, later in the week, to parents, just to give them hey, this is what we're doing, this is what we're planning on full day, we're planning on bringing kids back, but this is what it might look like, might be some options. If you had the option to stay home, would you choose to stay home? So we have an idea of how many parents would choose that option, because that'll give us an idea of what we should plan for contingency wise. Just like last year, some parents said, I need my kids out of the house no matter what, we'll take the risk with them and we're okay, and they're going to school. Go. And other parents said, no, our kids are doing fine at home, we're gonna keep them home, we feel safer that way. So, that, again, I don't know where the options are gonna be or what the districts will be required to do to support that, but that is something we are looking at different contingencies for.
Did the parents really say they need their kids out of the house, Jason? They phrase it
Could have
that way?
been me. Just echoing in my head. Yes, I heard that once or 10 times.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Lind?
So in the email that you sent, you provided some of the discussions that you've had with your counterparts in other districts, and potentially having like a district-wide virtual remote or anything. So what, when do you think those decisions will be made, or at least some proposals for some of these approaches?
That's a good question. I don't know. There's, I was hoping that there would be kind of a group in the county that would get together and form this program, or maybe the Regional Office of Education, but that Regional Office of Education is in a little bit of a transition right now too, in their leadership, and they're not in any position to be taking on that giant task. So I know there's school districts in our area that have hired somebody to run the program or to develop the program for next year, and they're putting teachers and resources in that direction. And so I've asked if we could stay up with that, and maybe at some point that might be a proposal, depending on how many of our kids would be interested, depending on are we required to offer this? There's a lot of ifs. So I'm anticipating not knowing for sure until July, August, again. So I'm afraid that this summer for the administrative team will be, I'm hoping this is not true, not the case, but more like last summer where we're doing a lot of shifting, dancing, trying to figure out what to do.
And the state hasn't announced any kind of gating in which they say, we'll make an announcement at this point based on these parameters. We anticipate schools doing this. Another announcement this month, nothing.
2 weeks ago, they said in the next 2 weeks. Like, it's kind of like it was. And I understand that when you're managing at the state level, trying to go through all the different groups.
Yeah, but I also
advocates.
think too, we have local information.
Right.
So they could publish standards based on, if your local situation is this, then we recommend this. If it's this, we recommend that.
That's not.
I would think
for sure that's not gonna happen.
for a year,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Them gathering information and data, I would think they'd be able to put something together.
No, we've been told it's gonna be mushy
Again, yeah.
again. So we'll have a lot of autonomy.
So should we reach out to the community and just ask to just get a sense of how many kids we're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna do that. What I'd like to do is kind of give an overall synopsis of what we think the environment might look like, and then say, if this is the case, assuming all of this is okay, what would you do? And just do a straight survey.
Okay.
Definitely. Because I need to know, are we talking 5 kids per grade level, or are we talking 20 kids per grade level? If it's 20, that's easier.
It's a classroom.
It's a
right?
classroom. You
Yeah.
take 25 even, if you take a group of kids and you say, all right, you're gonna be over here, but
Yeah.
that's not likely. I'm anticipating 5 kids in a grade level. Then we'll have 10 in another one and 7. And so that gets to be sticky. Then we're talking about tuitioning students into other school districts or a virtual academy that we've developed and creating a virtual academy, even this early or late, however you want to look at it, is going to be pretty tough and expensive. Either one of those scenarios are very, very, very expensive. So I would anticipate 10 to 15,000 per child. That's a lot of money. Maybe not quite that much, but it adds up pretty quick. Even if it's 5,000 per child, and you have 5 per grade level, that's a lot of money. So that's where we're gonna be in this quandary of what are we gonna be required to do, what can we do, what will we do? And based on so I'm just gonna share information, this is what we know now. We know that it's a 3 feet in the classroom requirement and a 6-foot requirement for eating lunch. That we know, so we're basing our plans on that. I think that'll be the same. The challenge will be contact tracing, so currently, if we're 6 feet apart in the classroom and we're masked and one of us comes down with COVID, it doesn't really impact anybody else. But if you're in a classroom where there's 3 feet apart or 4 feet even, then instead of a couple of kids who are close going home, it's going to be 8, 9 at a time going home. Busing, classroom, gym, recess, especially at the middle school, if they're changing classes and going back to a normal-ish schedule, it's going to be, that contact tracing piece is very, very, very difficult. And there is a solution out there for that, a technology solution for a mere $102,000.
What about the option of partnering with other districts if we have a small remote crew?
Yep, yeah, we talked about that with like Emmons, Grass Lake, us. Yep. But even that, then we've got to hire a teacher. So if it's 5 kids in a grade level, it's not enough for us to say, okay, we can take one of our teachers and move them to that virtual. We're gonna have to hire another teacher for that grade level and share that cost. So whatever cost that would be, it's gonna add up pretty quick. It'll be a interesting challenge, I think. I was hoping for a calmness, a little break from the multiple decision making, but we'll see. So that's it. I'm gonna send out that information to parents just to say, we're thinking about next year, this is what we think it might be, these are some things to consider, these are options that may or may not happen, but be prepared for that, and then get a sense of, if that's the case, will you send your child back to school?
Good. Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Lind. Future agenda items, we have more press policy updates as usual. We have an internal search for the perfect phone system. Does anyone have any other additions for future items? Okay. Superintendent's report.
I want to report, the paraprofessionals and custodians union was planning on coming tonight to present their initial proposal. They're working on some things and we're quite ready and didn't get information late because of communication glitch. So not their fault, not our fault, it's just something that happened. And so they would like to push that back to May 10th. And they would like to do that at 6 p.m. They would and we'll talk about this a little bit later in our second board meeting, that they would like to start that at 6 PM, but that doesn't mean the whole board at 6 PM. What we did last time is they presented their initial proposal to whoever the board representatives would be. Typically, that's 2 members of the school board, our attorney, myself, Dr. Johns, Carly Kraft, and is that it on our
Is
side?
it Jake or is Jake
Yeah,
gonna do it or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So they would present it to us. We won't respond at that time, but just take that information, ask any clarifying questions to the 2 board members in that group. And then at the board meeting, they would be able to introduce themselves to the whole board, and you would see, so the whole board would get a sense of who's on the team and how that process works. And then in closed session, we would talk about their proposal. The negotiations happens in closed sessions because it's negotiations. That's a private, it would have to be that way, otherwise, it would be really tough until the end. And then the vote is a public vote of the board approving it, and then the paraprofessionals and custodians would have to approve, their end of it as well.
What's the term of the contract?
The term is negotiated.
What's the existing?
Last, 1 year,
1
so
year.
we did a 1 year last year, before that it was a 3-year?
I think it was 3.
I think it was a 3-year, the teacher's current contract is a 4-year, so it gives you the range of, it could be anywhere from 1 to 4 to 5.
Okay.
5 is the maximum, I believe.
5 is the maximum unless you are Palatine, Palatine. Somehow they got around to the 10-year. So that's our process for that negotiations. On May 27th, I believe it's the Thursday before the last day of school, we have a teacher appreciation luncheon in the afternoon. It will be at the middle school. We have a tent. It will be socially distanced. Board members, if you are available and would like to attend, please consider that. Veronica is setting all of that up, and just let her know that you will be attending or not. So, all of that planning, trying to keep it safe and trying to get everybody to attend as well. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Dr. Lind. Dr. Johns, Business Office Report.
I emailed out my report on Friday, and it's also attached to the agenda. Did anybody have any specific questions of anything I had in that report?
For the projectors, is this an expansion of rooms that didn't have a projector, or is it a replacement for?
These are actually additional rooms that didn't have a projector. Earlier this year, we did replace several where we had projectors that failed. But what's on there tonight in my report now is 6 additional projectors, 1 here at the elementary and 5 at the middle school. And actually, our goal was to get them out into the classroom sooner, but here's where we're at.
Then I had another question on the point below that, the unemployment requirements. So I'm guessing that's based off of all the issues that we've had with fraudulent claims.
That's my interpretation, and it was for a 1-year period. So I think that they're hoping that by the end of that 1-year period that'll be over. But yeah, we have had, actually, I just got another unemployment claim that I don't think is fraudulent last week. But there for a while, I was getting several every week. Just amazing. And some of them were, and so if it was suspected fraud, then I contacted the individual and, we worked through that to make sure that they reported it as fraud and I reported it as fraud. But Yeah, the amount of money that has been lost is, you know, it's sad to see people abusing the system like that.
And then the fire department connection relocation, that's considerably less than we were expecting, right?
Right.
We're thinking somewhere between 5 and 10.
Yeah, actually, the architect had told me about 5,000.
Okay.
And then I kind of, knowing that sometimes with a smaller job, you have to pay more.
Yeah.
But we actually contacted 7 contractors and only found one that was willing to do it for us.
That's good.
So,
And then did they estimate when they'll be done?
no, I just, talked to them last week on the phone, so they'll contact me as far as scheduling it. But that's something that they'll be able to do while kids are at school, because it's in a part of the school that, you know, doesn't really impact, wouldn't be impacted by that.
Okay. Good.
Basically just turning it from this way, it comes right on this side to have it come out the other side of the wall, but
Yeah, that's good.
still something that has to be done in order for the fire department to easily access it. And what they do with that is that actually, if we would lose water pressure in the building, they can hook a pumper truck up to that and then operate the sprinklers in the building externally.
Any more questions? Thank you, Dr. John. Do we have any board reports?
HG7 defeated. That's a good thing, I think.
Anything else? If nothing else, then I make a motion to adjourn of retiring board education of this group for the last time.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do they have a choice?
No, they could have said, we're gonna stick around forever. But somebody would probably fall asleep. So we have some recognition going on.
We do. We have a plaque. Denise, you'll get your plaque. It is in Veronica's office, so we'll get that to you whenever we can. But Jim is here tonight, so I'd like to present Jim with the Milburn Board of Education plaque, and thank you for your 4 years of service. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. You gonna shake my hand or no?
I will if you would.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jim
Yep.
and Denise.
Thank you to the voters, thank you to the board. It's been a real experience. I've certainly learned a lot, and it's been a good experience. So for the new board members coming on board, so to speak, 4 years went quick, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So congratulations
Thank you.
on being on the board.
Denise, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone. It's been a very crazy 4 years. I've definitely learned way more about how schools are run than I had any idea of before. And it's really been a very positive experience. So I thank you for the opportunity. And I just want to congratulate the new board members and wish you guys all the best. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you, Denise.
So you guys are excused. You don't have to stick around if you don't want to,
Okay?
but
I think I
you're
will.
of course welcome.
Need you?
Yeah.
Oh.
You got a one more signature. Oh no.
And before we're done, I can't give this to you tonight. We'll have to do it tomorrow,
Oh, that's fine.
Oh, no problem.
okay?
That's fine.
And if, can I call you tomorrow?
Yep. Definitely.
Okay, all right, good. Thanks.
Well, we appreciate your service, Jim and Denise. It's really been a pleasure, and
We'll be around.
yeah, I know. I know you will, and Jim and Denise really read almost every one of my board reports, and I could tell that they read them, and I know a lot of board members do over the years, but it was, Denise and Jim especially, came prepared, and I appreciate that, and others do as well, so, not saying anything bad about anybody else, but I really appreciated that, and asked good questions, and challenged, Denise and Jim challenged thought processes and why we're doing things, and, positive, what, not a negative, like, you stink way, why are you doing this, but, hey, why are we doing this? Is there another way to do this? And I appreciate that from both Jim and Denise, so I really do appreciate it.
You're welcome. Should we go elsewhere to this?
You can stay right there. Yeah, you're fine. You just can't vote anymore.
Shall we start our second meeting?
So that was the motion for
All right. So I call the Board of Education April 26th, 2021, second meeting to order. New business. We have to appoint a president pro tem for recognition of the board. So somebody to run this meeting right now, and we'll basically be electing officers for the new board and giving the oath of office to everyone and that sort of stuff. So, do I have any volunteers for the position?
You did such a great job with the oath of office.
I did such a great job with you. I think that should be memorialized on YouTube forever. All right, nobody wants to volunteer. I will certainly volunteer myself. Does anybody have any disagreements with that? Then,
No.
hearing none, I guess that makes me appointed President Pro Tem for this meeting. So, organization of the new board. What does that mean we have to do?
That just means that, we take the next step and do the oath of office.
Everybody got their own copy?
And all members, since this is a new board, everybody can read this together, and, Stephen, if you don't have a copy in front of you, that's okay. I don't think we'll notice if you're reading it or not, but you can.
I have it.
Your...
I have it in front of me.
Perfect. You memorized that, didn't you?
Yeah, I thought there was going to be a test.
All right,
Everybody should stand.
we should stand. Ready?
I,
Brendan Murphy,
Stephen Gray,
solemnly
solemnly
swear
swear
that
I will faithfully
discharge the
discharge the duties of the office of the member of the Board of Education, Milburn School District,
in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Illinois, and the laws of the State of Illinois, to the best of my ability. I further swear that I shall respect taxpayer interests by serving as a faithful protector of the school district assets. I shall encourage and respect the free expression of opinions by my fellow board members and others who seek a hearing before the board, while respecting the privacy of students and employees. I shall recognize that a board member has no legal authority as an individual and that decisions can be made only by majority vote at a public board meeting. I shall abide by majority decisions of the board, while retaining the right to seek changes in such decisions through ethical and constructive channels. As part of the Board of Education, I shall accept the responsibility for my role in the equitable and quality education of every student in the school district. I shall foster with the board extensive participation of the community, formulate goals, define outcomes, and set the course for Milburn School District 24. I shall assist in establishing a structure and an environment designed to ensure all students have the opportunity to attain their maximum potential through a sound organizational framework. I shall strive to ensure a continuous assessment of student achievement and all conditions affecting the education of our children in compliance with state law. I shall serve as education's key advocate on behalf of students and our community school to advance the vision for Milburn School District 24. And I shall strive to work together with the district superintendent to lead the school district toward fulfilling the vision of the board has created, fostering excellence for every student in the areas of academic skills, knowledge, citizenship, and personal development. Congratulations and welcome to the board, everyone. Call to order. Roll call, please, Jonathan.
Ms. Boss? Mr. Coleman?
Here.
Mr. Gray?
I am here.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Here.
Mr. Murphy?
Here.
Mr. Pederini?
Here.
Mr. Quinones?
Here.
All right. Now that we have a new board, everybody has given their oath. We have nominations for president. I will throw my name in the hat. Do we have
I'll
any
second
other-
that, Brendan.
Thank you.
I'll second that, yeah.
Anybody else want to be president? No. Then I guess we can do a
Roll call.
roll call vote.
Ms. Boss? Yep. Mr. Coleman?
Yes?
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy is the president.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Brendan.
Do we have any nominations for secretary? You can nominate yourself or someone else if you'd like.
I would for secretary. I'll throw my name in.
I'll second that, Sean.
Second.
Mr. Coleman for
Secretary.
secretary?
Do we have anyone else who would like to run? Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Coleman?
Yes? After careful consideration? Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mrs. Boss? Yes. Mr. Coleman for secretary.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Nominations for vice president.
What's the role of the vice president?
I'll nominate myself.
There you go.
Second that, John. Take over for the president. While we're remote, Denise has been kind of checking to make sure we have public participation or anything like that. No? Are there any other rules?
That's worked nicely too, for raising the motions.
Yeah.
That's worked very nicely too.
Does anybody else want to nominate themselves or someone else? Okay. We could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Gray?
Yeah.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Pederini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mrs. Boss? Yes. Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Gray is vice president.
Congratulations.
Thanks, guys.
we have to designate an IASB governing board representative. So this is a very important role. The IASB is the Illinois Association of School Boards. They recommend a lot of policies that are recommended to our lawmakers down in Springfield. And so you get to vote on those policies that we will be bringing up. Is that about it?
That's about it.
That's fine. Does anybody want to nominate themselves or someone else?
I'd like to nominate myself.
Do we have a second?
Yes, second.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, and I don't think we have to vote on this, so congratulations, Peter, you are our representative.
Like to look at the legal thing, you know?
Peter, I was doing it for the last 2 years. Let me know if you have any questions.
Oh, excellent, I will, thank you.
You get to be special when you go down for the convention, because you could go into the little room where nobody else is allowed to go
Oh,
in.
VIP.
Yeah.
The delegate VIP room.
Complain and we also need a CEDAW representative. We have a pretty good population of CEDAW students here and a relationship with them. But it also entails going to the CEDAW meetings once a month. So you'll be doing
Once a quarter.
once a quarter.
Once a quarter.
Yes, you were our
Yeah,
CEDAW.
I was current acting CEDAW representative. It's really good. I mean, it's good to be a part of that. I mean, just taking a tour of the facility and seeing the dedication of the people and understanding really what is required to run CEDAW. It's rewarding. It's good to be a part of it. It was a turbulent 2 years. I believe behind us. It definitely seems like it's behind us, but you know, I would encourage someone to do it.
And that is Special Education District of Lake County.
Yes.
in case
So
you
it's
didn't know.
quarterly.
Yeah.
It's quarterly, but it was really good.
I'll put my hand in the ring for that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Congratulations. You are a
Nice
representative.
job, Jose.
All right. Do well. And reappointment of board clerk. No,
That is Veronica.
Veronica does not have to be our board clerk, but we'll probably fall apart without her.
Yeah, I don't know.
Without question, the most qualified. And a proven track record.
I'll throw my hat in the ring.
We're gonna make you regret it.
All right.
We need to do a roll call for that one,
You
right?
do.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Petterini?
Yes.
Oh, we have to do a motion, right?
We probably should do a motion in a second.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Veronica Willis as the board clerk.
Second, stepping right in there.
Any comments on this?
Yes, Veronica, you do a great job. We appreciate everything you do. Thank you for continuing to be willing to do it.
I kind of feel like I have to, no, thank you. I enjoy it. We all learn a lot. Mr. Petterini?
Yes.
Mr. Quinones?
Yes.
Mrs. Voss?
Yes.
Mr. Coleman?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Lorenzen?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy?
Yes. The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Board clerk.
Woo-hoo.
Veronica, let us know if there's anything we can do to make it more pleasant.
Or that's painful.
Well, if you would look at the proposed date for our meetings for the next year, if you know of any conflicts this early out,
And I will mention, and I will be missing at least one in June. My daughter's having surgery, she's gonna have some hospital stays. And so it's gonna be hopefully only one meeting, let's hope one meeting, we'll say it that way, just been wanting to note that.
I will actually be out of town for the June 14th meeting this year as well. But for the one from July to June of next 21, 22, usually they're pretty consistent, so.
Sorry, what is the asterisk denote?
March 28th?
It falls out of sync from being the,
Every 2 weeks?
Mhm.
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Thank you.
And we have middle school listed on here, but we may continue to meet here just because it's easier to set up in one place, especially with any extra equipment that we're gonna have and comfy chairs and.
Could we just amend it so we meet here every time?
Yeah, we're not voting on this tonight, this is just for discussion, so you don't have to, this is just to show you tonight. We should have said that up front. So look at your calendar, cause it's not fair to throw this up there and then say, hey, you have to vote now on this. So we will vote at the, second May meeting on this. So you have tonight to look at it and this week, and then you'll have May 10th meeting. We can bring it up again and see if there's any questions, or maybe somebody at that meeting will say, I can't be there on, January 24th. And then we can decide, okay, are we gonna move the meeting? And then somebody else will say, well, we can't move it to the week before because then 3 people will be out. So that's why we give enough time to say, if it's 1 or 2 people who are gonna know they're gonna be out ahead of time, probably leave it. But if it's 3 people that know, hey, we can't make it on January 24th, then something comes up, like one of our kids gets sick or who knows what, then we don't have a quorum. When it gets down to the 3 people knowing they're gonna be out for a meeting, it gets to be pretty tough. We also have 2 July meetings scheduled here. Typically, we do 1 meeting in July, but being that this year is in such of a flux and we don't know, we kept it on the schedule. So just to point that out, and there's 1 meeting in December. Because December, the way winter break falls, it's tough to get 2 meetings in that month.
And the breaks here are pretty in sync with most of the other districts, right?
Yes,
I mean,
we
typically-
follow the tech campus schedule for
Okay.
winter break and spring break, except for next year for winter break. Every district is gonna be a little different because of the way it falls goofy.
Okay.
Like Warren is, I think, taking the week off before and everybody, something
Yeah.
not aligned. So Warren's different than Grays Lake and Antioch for winter break, so we kind of picked the majority for those. So that's it. No action needed.
No action needed. I do know, July 26th probably will be bad for me. It will probably be at scout camp.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments on our proposed schedule? We do not have to adjourn to closed session. So I make a motion that we adjourn.
One quick question for those negotiations with the union. Do we have to decide that today? Who's gonna be part of it?
Yeah.
Good question, thank you.
Thank you,
I'd like to
Jose.
be part of those negotiations.
Good.
Wonderful.
Do we have any other volunteers?
I'll do it.
All right.
Excellent, well, that was easy, see?
That's the easiest ever.
Wait, am I gonna?
For
Too late
sure you
now.
will.
A rich and rewarding experience.
It is, no, it's
Very,
good.
very
It's a good experience.
It's a good thing to know, and we shouldn't have too much. We have a pretty good relationship with all our staff, so. They don't ask for anything crazy, and we're pretty reasonable. Excellent.
So, yeah, so then, I'll be, thank you, because I wrote that down, I still forgot it. I'll be communicating with you two then about dates.
Alright.
So our attorney leads the negotiations process for our team. So really in the negotiations, we don't have to say a whole lot. We're not negotiating directly with staff members. It's their representative from the Illinois Federation of Teachers, which is the union that they belong to, and our attorney do most of the talking during, and then we'll ask clarifying questions, or sometimes they'll direct a question to Dr. Johns about health insurance, or me about schedules and timing and things like that, so we're there. And then we go back and caucus, and that's where we talk about, okay, so what is it that we can afford? And the board will have this discussion once we talk more about financials, about this is what we're willing to be able to afford or dedicate to that pay scale next year, and talk about that as a whole board, give updates throughout, but basically you're representing the board, and you'll have an idea of, okay, it's a certain percentage increase that the board has agreed to go up to, and then you will be representing the board in good faith in those meetings. So it's very interesting to see. You'll learn a lot about our contract, which is good to know from a board's perspective, some board policy, and all that.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Anything else we forgot?
I was worried about that.
Thank you, guys. That'll be a big help for us. All right, let's try one more time. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations on your first meeting, and we will see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, Stephen.
If you're still